Hey folks, welcome to You'll Probably Agree. And today I have from moviesandshakers.com. I've had him on before, but it's been a while. I think the last movie we talked about was the Harvey Weinstein film or something like that. But this film is Fear Strikes Out. And I chose this movie because I get bored with inspirational sports films. I think ever since Rocky came out, and even before Rocky, there are like films before it, everyone's like, oh, let's look at how great and hopeful sports is. And I'm like, yeah, but we never see the other side to it. So I sent out a list of like 7 movies. We landed on Fear Strikes Out. We almost did Raging Bull, but honestly, I didn't want to watch 2 hours of Robert De Niro beating women up and yelling like slurs and doing all that stuff. But guys, thank you so much for coming on. We'll do ladies first. Linda, could you give us a little synopsis of Fear Strikes Out and your thoughts of it, and then Al, and then me?
This is really his bailiwick because he worked sports.
Oh, okay. Well, we'll
Yes,
start with
I'm a
yeah.
big sports fan, but he knows more about this, and I can tell you more about Jimmy Piersall when we talk about it.
All right.
All right.
So this movie, Fear Strikes Out, based on the book Fear Strikes Out by Jimmy Piersall. Jimmy Piersall was a very talented baseball player. Played in the major leagues for 17 years. Mainly known for his time with the Red Sox.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact of the matter is, he was an all-star. He was a Gold Glover. He hit over 100 home runs in his career. But he was also mainly known for being crazy. He had mental health issues that landed him committed to a hospital for rehab for more than once during his life. And I actually had a chance to visit him in the hospital once while he was committed for mental issues, but that's later in life. But he wrote an autobiography. And his biography was picked up just 2 years after it came out, and it came out in 1955. The movie was made in 1957, starring Anthony Perkins, and Carl Malden, who played the supposedly villain of the film, his abusive father. And the Piersall, by the way, interestingly enough, wanted nothing to do with this movie. He was actually barred from the set.
Yep.
While the movie was being shot, because he just had a big problem with how fictionalized, how he felt that Hollywood bastardized his story. So he had nothing nice to say, very few things nice to say about the movie. But the movie, in its if you're going to make a positive in the movie, it did raise the issue of mental health at a time when people didn't want to know or care about mental health issues, especially when it came to being treated with electrodes and with drugs, with lithium. So that is a little background of the movie, and we can get into Piersall himself on the field, who was a very entertaining ball player. I do remember remember the most famous scene in the movie when he goes nuts on the field. Do you remember what happened?
But he like behind the scenes or when he has his breakdown? Oh,
Tony Perkins' performance.
by the way, spoilers. Yeah, I mean he goes crazy because there's something leading up to it. I think it was like all the insurmountable pressure of being a player, and then he like literally, as like the thumbnail in the episode shows, he like climbs the fences and they gotta pull him off.
Trying to get to a fan, trying to get to an abusive fan. But yes, he's climbing the backstop.
Yeah.
Trying to get to a fan. But that was the dramatic moment in the movie.
Yeah. It's funny when they got to that moment, I couldn't help but think of Piersall's quote, which like one aspect of me is like I agree with that, and the other aspect's like, ooh, man, that's outdated. But then again, it was like the 50s, so like come on, man. But he said that he thought Anthony Perkins was a little light in the loafers when he was playing his role. And like here's the thing, like,
and that his father wasn't really as abusive and as terrible a man as he's portrayed, as Carl Malden portrayed him in the film.
Well, it's acting, like I would hope not. But I mean, some people are like their characters. I interviewed a celebrity recently. I won't say who it is, but he was fun, very drunk, and very much like his characters, outside of saying racial slurs. But yeah, it's funny. And you look at that movie, it's like, yeah, you don't really buy Perkins as a baseball player, but at the same time, like baseball players in the 50s look way different than like the roided up players of today. So it didn't bother me too much. I guess when he had his breakdown, he was kind of like squealing like a girl, and I couldn't help but laugh during that scene when I shouldn't have. Uh, but
Baseball players during the 50s, actually, baseball, even for major leaguers, wasn't always a full time job.
mhm.
They would you would go into a hardware store or go into some other venue in the off season in the winter, and you'd see a major league baseball player behind the counter.
Yeah, they'd be like soda jerks, basically, or whatever menial job you could get. Because back then they didn't get paid millions and millions of dollars. I think because you didn't have television. Well, you did have a little bit of television, but not to the extent that it reached, like, I'd say by the 80s maybe, or like late 70s. But like you didn't have that sort of exposure that you did today. So like, yeah, they had to
Right, and
struggle a lot to make money.
Moneyball was, really exposed a lot of the money that was behind all of that.
Oh yeah. I can't believe that. I can't remember the director's name, but he did Capote, he did Moneyball, he did Foxcatcher, and then he like disappeared. And I'm like, wait, where are his movies? That's kind of a disappointment. But yeah, Fear Strikes Out. Before I give my thoughts on it, Linda, what are your thoughts on the film?
Well, it exposes him in a way that made him look like a nutty person that he was, and very volatile. And but also you could see underneath that there was something else going on there, and I don't know that came out in the movie,
Mm,
that he had a lot of emotion broiling inside of him,
yeah.
and you saw it come out, but I'm not sure you got as much of what was really going on in his head.
Yeah, well, my main issue, I like the movie, but I don't love it. I For a while I really liked it a lot. Because I haven't seen other baseball movies like that. Most of them are like feel good, Major League, and hey, I love Major League. Major League 2 and Major League 3. I saw it once in the theaters and never again in my life. Uh but like this one was a darker side of baseball. But now when I watch it, I'm going, there's a lot of things that they kind of simplified. Like, for instance, they base all of Jimmy's bipolar disorder, which I'm going to guess at the time they didn't know what bipolar was. I know definitely when Jimmy played, it wasn't well known. When the movie came out, I still don't know if it was known, because like when they checked him in, they said he had nervous exhaustion. And I'm like, yeah, that's 99% of Americans have nervous exhaustion.
Well, that was the Red Sox doing PR, doing PR in
The spin.
control.
That was the spin.
Interesting. Yeah, but it's like they base everything off the dad. I'm like, well, I don't know if the dad is like the reason to blame for everything. Like, it could have been more nuanced. You could have seen how he had problems outside of just his father. And then when I was reading up on him, it turns out his mother was in and out of an institution when he was growing up.
Gee, genetics.
Yeah.
Something,
Yeah.
something, by the way, you're just like being around a gay person doesn't turn you gay.
No.
Yeah.
Having an abusive father doesn't necessarily make you mentally ill. So there is that. Yeah, the movie is not a great movie by any stretch of the imagination. It hasn't held up terrifically over the years because it's a product of its times. The 50s, we're going back to the 50s now. We don't have to get into politics, but we have a whole wing of a political party who would like us to be back in the 50s with Joe McCarthy and segregation. So there you go.
Yeah. It was the whole Make America Great Again thing. It's like, yeah, America might have been okay, but not great if you're white. but if you weren't white, America really, really sucked. And they want to go back to that. And I mean, Jimmy Piersall, maybe I shouldn't disclose the story, but I'll tell you guys off the air. But he made it like an off-color comment that I'm trying to find a tape of, but I can't find it anywhere. It was based on something my dad told me when I was growing up, where he heard Jimmy Piersall do a game, and he said some pretty questionable things. But the thing was, in the context of the time, it was kind of funny. Like, oh my god, I can't believe that guy said that. But that was kind of like his whole MO. It's like, oh my god, I can't believe this guy's speaking his mind. He seems crazy. Blah blah blah. I would say Jimmy Piersall. Like, people like to say, oh, he's nuts, he's crazy. It's like, well, there's a difference between crazy and manic bipolar, which is like he has episodes, he's outspoken, he gets into fights, but he's not exactly dangerous or harmful to himself or others to a degree.
Well, as long as he took his medication.
Yeah.
The lithium.
Yeah.
When he was, we can get into the story, later. We've got time, but we'll tell you what happened when he didn't take his lithium.
Oh, okay. So what did happen when he didn't take? He'd have his episodes. I know he would throw. He hated the scoreboard, and like whenever it like shot fireworks, he'd freak out and start throwing oranges at it. He would get into like fist fights with other players.
Billy Martin. Well, he had a famous incident where he had a feud with Billy Martin.
Yeah.
And got into a fight, into a fist fight, turned into a bench clearing brawl. But it was him and Billy Martin. He hated Billy Martin.
Yeah.
But this is when he was Jimmy's career took him from the field eventually to the broadcast booth, where he was famously paired in Chicago broadcasting the White Sox with Harry Carey. A lot of Harry Carey is known as the revered Cubs announcer, but Harry Carey was hired first to come to broadcast White Sox games at the old UHF station, Channel 44, and he was with Jimmy Piersall, and they were bigger than the team, which pissed off the players no end. Really? Because it would get back to the players when Harry especially would badmouth them on the air, you wouldn't be a pop up in a phone booth.
Yes, that was the thing my dad told me. He was like, they never they didn't water it down and make it fluffy, like, oh, everyone on the team's great and everything's great, they're just struggling. No, he'd be like, popped it up. That would be a home run in a phone booth. Yeah.
So, and Jimmy was part of that too, and they would get into how can you one up how bad the players are, and so they were pretty much banned from the clubhouse as well for some time as well. But Jimmy was had a lifelong prescription for lithium. That's how he treated his condition.
Yeah.
For whatever reason, and I'm trying to remember why. He stopped taking it for a few days, and it culminated in the press box. And I was there that night at Comiskey Park when Rob Gallus, who was then the vice president in charge of marketing for the White Sox, encountered Jimmy and said something to Jimmy, and Jimmy just went ballistic and ended up with his hands around Gallus's neck in the press box, literally trying to squeeze the life out of him.
Whoa!
And he had to be pulled off. The police were called. They had to be restrained, and he was taken to the hospital for involuntary confinement at the hospital. For some days until they could regulate his medication again, and until he promised that he would never stop taking the lithium. And we visited him in the hospital. I had become friendly with both Harry and Jimmy and Linda as well, and we had socialized with Jimmy. We went out socially a few times. Well, never with Harry and Jimmy together.
No, no, no.
Man, I would love to sit at that bar stool. That would be a conversation.
We went on to dinner with Jimmy and his wife Janet a few
Mm.
times, and as you know, I'm kind of known for my brownies because I had a brownie business, and she was known for her brownies. So we became good friends, over the brownies.
Uh,
And
that's
going out with Jimmy, what I was going to say before is that Jimmy did not know limits. Period.
mhm.
Whatever came to mind, that's what came out, and it got him
Yeah.
in trouble a lot.
Yeah, I can kind of relate to that in a way because I tend to not have a filter sometimes. And I have to, like my sister would always say, "Oh, you don't have a filter." And I'm like, "What am I, a fucking car? What are you talking about?" But right there, I just swore in the air. But it's okay. This is I don't think
Yeah.
teenagers are going to watch a podcast about Fear Strikes Out. So it's
But,
all right.
Jimmy was diagnosed. Jimmy famously used to say, "Hey, I have papers that
Right.
say I'm sane. Do you?"
Mm,
You know,
yeah.
and he had to have certification that he was okay
Okay.
to be on the streets, and that
Mm.
was the paper, and that was his famous line.
Oh my god, that is amazing. Yeah. I mean, I really miss announcers like Carey and Piersall because there was an honesty to them. They didn't sugarcoat everything. You really felt like, oh, they're actually giving me real commentary on the game. And now it's very corporate. Everyone's just in a big rainbow circle when it comes to announcing games. And yeah, there's a charm that's missing when those guys are gone. Although, whoo, I can't believe it. Well, I guess because it was the older days. I'm guessing like either I think 80s games. There was a moment where he said something on the air, and he would have been like permanently canceled today if that got out. But yeah,
Well, announcers are part of the corporate structure of the ball team now,
yeah,
of what organization. Harry was, especially Harry, he was in the booth to promote his brand.
mm,
You know, the fact that the Cubs were actually playing baseball on the field, or the White Sox, or the St. Louis Cardinals before that, uh,
mm,
and he famously got fired from the Cardinals for stooping the owner's wife, but that which is a well known story. But Harry was in it for Harry, not
mm,
not he. I think he liked baseball, but he could have been calling uh, could have been calling a kid's kickball game, and he would still do it the same way, with the same intensity, because he'd be selling Harry,
yeah.
and Jimmy was part of that as well.
Yeah, well, the great thing about Harry is, like you said, he could announce anything. It was interesting. He's like one of the few people where drinking was like his benefit in his career, kind of like George Wendt in a way, because you're like, oh, Harry Carey, he gets slammed and then it starts. Which I don't think he got that drunk before a game or not, probably afterwards. But then that was like a running joke on SNL.
No, he was a functioning alcoholic.
Yeah, okay. I mean I used to be a functioning alcoholic. It's a bit like being a functioning construction worker. You maybe you shouldn't have a drink while you're operating the forklift, but if you can get away with it, okay. But although announcing's a little different. But yeah, I mean there was that whole thing on SNL where like Will Ferrell would play Harry Carey, and he'd be drunk and Harry Carey here. That was like the only thing Will Ferrell did that made me laugh. Every other movie he's in, it's just like, oh, let me guess, he's gonna scream random nonsensical stuff again.
You
Yeah,
agree with that?
Yes.
yeah,
Mike, I have a question for you.
yeah.
What do you think Jimmy Piersall and Harry Carey, if they were announcing today, what do you think the reaction would be from social media?
Oh, they be canceled. Everyone, because people, because here's the thing: there's a good side of cancel culture and a bad side of cancel culture. I'm actually writing a whole screenplay about someone that gets canceled. But anyways, like the problem is people want to. There are people who deserve to lose their careers, and then there are people who don't. And I think with Pearsall and Carey, instead of saying, "Okay, that's wrong," but let's actually dissect this and talk to you and not end your career. That'd be great. And again, back then they could do that. If you were on here today, people would be like, "Oh my God, can you believe that Jimmy Piersall and Harry Carey said that? I don't want them around here anymore." There'd be like memes about how they're terrible and like AI videos about how they're horrible, and then there would be people who would defend him, and probably the people who would defend him would be people on the far right who are like, "I like the fact that he speaks his mind. It's exactly what I think. I'm gonna play my banjo now," and that's sort of like the dichotomy between audiences you would struggle with if they were here in today's modern society.
Well, Harry would be, I'm sure, we can never know, of course, but I would be sure that Harry would not be a fan of DEI.
Mm.
It would be like, hey, if you're good enough to play, you're good enough to be here no matter who you are or what you look like. Sounds good. But, there's the fact that getting into a school to get looked at, to play ball, to get looked at by a scout and all of this, sometimes somebody needs a little help. And
Yeah.
that's not, that is not what we're headed for.
Yeah, we don't want to help people who have messed up beliefs, I mean, we want to, as a matter of fact, now we have like two sides. One who wants to completely destroy your life, and then another side who wants to promote the hateful stuff you're saying as a way to reinforce their beliefs. So, and that's the problem with constant media and constant exposure, is that nothing is private anymore, and everything that you do is going to be held with scrutiny. And
it's immediate. It's immediate, the reaction.
Yeah, exactly.
We didn't
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. It's just like a knee jerk. Oh, how dare he said that? Sort of atmosphere. But circling back to the movie itself, I do like the film. Although I have to say it is outdated. I think the direction in it, like, here's the thing: the director, he did To Kill a Mockingbird, Robert Mulligan, but this film, it does have that overly stagey kind of feel to it, because a lot of modern filmmakers were still getting used to the camera. So, like, for instance, there's this one scene where Jimmy's father's having a heart attack. He falls down, and then like the camera holds on Jimmy's door for like a wide shot for an inordinate amount of time. He walks up to the door and he goes, "Dad." And I couldn't help but laugh because of how poorly timed and cheesy that was. There are moments like that. And then I think at the beginning, was he in a little league park? Because you can see like little neighbor like houses and stuff in the background when he's playing.
Little league wasn't a thing when Jimmy was growing up.
Okay.
So it would have been in a park with kids doing pickup games.
Okay, yeah, because I was watching that, I'm like, oh, why are there like neighborhood houses in the background? This is weird. But again, that was probably just the way it was back then, because you didn't have a million people trying to get pictures with you and stuff like that.
Jimmy grew up in Connecticut, and baseball was always the thing kids did in the summer, and kids would, growing up certainly in the 40s and 50s and even into the early 60s, in the summertime, kids would have breakfast, grab a glove and a bat and just go to the park and wait for other kids to show up, and they'd spend all day long playing ball, just like what was the movie I just saw recently, the replay, with the kids of the Dodgers, the kid who became a Dodger, and they were all playing. They played ball all day long in the park, in the field outside their home. Anyway, so somebody will write in and tell you, but trying to remember the name of it. Anyway, that was life, and I'm sure that's how Jimmy learned to play baseball.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, and exactly, that was the way. And again, his dad was sort of like the main sort of villain in the movie. Although one aspect I really liked about the film is Carl Malden's arc in the film, because he goes from like this abusive father who can't let go of his son. Like, he coddles him. He like won't stop. Like, he stalks him so much. He even like shows up in his locker room early in the film, and I'm like, why is his dad in there? Like, what kind of weird stalker stuff is this? And then towards the end of the film, after Jimmy's been committed and he's basically has to learn how to distance himself from his father, instead of his father being neglectful and hateful towards him and saying, how dare he do this? I made him a career. He feels bad because he kind of has that scene where he goes to the park bench and then he starts weeping because he kind of realizes, oh my God, I screwed my son's life up. Maybe I shouldn't have been so hard on him. And then when he comes out of the hospital and he tells his dad, hey, I think I'm ready to play, he says, well, why don't you wait until you're ready? Which is something he would have never have said unless Jimmy went through hell and back. And I thought the father went through quite a, maybe more of an interesting arc in that movie than Jimmy Piersall did. Because Jimmy Piersall, he had his disabilities, but he was kind of played. I thought the way Perkins played Piersall was sort of like the way he played Norman Bates, which like both characters have similarities, which the audience doesn't know this movie actually came out before Psycho. And I'm wondering if that influenced the casting of Perkins in that film. But like Perkins always plays every scene where he's kind of like quiet and shy and vulnerable. And then, of course, you realize it's because he has this obsession with his parents, kind of like how Norman has a obsession with his mother. And he, in a way, although I didn't buy Perkins as a baseball player, I kind of like the fact that there was like this vulnerability to him that was very transparent on screen, while Carl Malden, and I don't think this was intentional at the time, but in today's context, I thought it was kind of interesting. Carl Malden's kind of like this tough guy, all-American image that he wants his son to be. And his son isn't that. Although he's a baseball player, he's a sensitive person. And I thought that was an interesting angle for the movie to go. Did you guys kind of get that kind of vibe at all from the film? Or is that sort of like a 2025 viewpoint?
It stands in stark contrast to reality, and this is part of what Jimmy himself reacted to negatively about the movie, is that they're making, they finally allowed Carl Malden, who's a much better actor than Tony Perkins.
Yeah, every role he's like shy and nervous, but anyways, yeah.
And shy and nervous was not Jimmy Piersall. On the field, he transformed. He had a freedom. He sort of gained this sort of freedom and it happens with so many professional athletes. The only time they really feel free is when they're between the lines. Famously, Michael Jordan said that the only time he ever felt free was when he was on the court in a basketball game, because that was the only time of the day when people weren't hounding him, stalking him, yelling at him, screaming for his attention, that he could concentrate on one thing. Same thing with Piersall in a strange kind of way. He could let his real personality come through when he was playing a game. For instance, famously, when he hit his 100th home run.
The backwards walk. Yeah.
He ran around the bases backwards.
Yeah.
I think he might have got thrown out of the game for that. I don't quite remember, but that's against the rules, of course.
Yeah. Or spraying the home plate with a water pistol. Yeah.
Coming to the plate and lifting his cap and had birds fly out from under.
That's awesome.
Those kinds of things. He had the freedom to express his fun, his whatever he at the moment thought was his fun side.
But it wasn't just freedom; it was he had confidence to do that. He felt okay doing that. And he was an entertainer, and he wanted to be an entertainer.
Yeah, and the thing is, I was wondering, like, was it like after his episode and he came out of the hospital, he's like, hey, people are kind of entertained by this. Maybe I should do this more often. Or was it just like he was always like that? He was always like the alpha dog when he showed up on the field and he's like, oh, you guys want to see a show? All right, I'll put on a show. Like, I don't know, like, when he went through that transition, but I mean, I can understand, like, why he'd be upset that he's kind of portrayed as like this sensitive kid. But at the same time, I think for the narrative, it works. Because if you just saw some guy who was like a baseball player and he was, very believable and kind of tough, you'd kind of go, yeah, okay, but like, where's the vulnerability? But I would say, if they made this movie today, it would be very different. And I would actually love to see a remake of this film because I think there's a lot of things you could tackle that A was in the real story that I think Jimmy Piersall would have been happy to have seen. And B, there would be a lot of modern context regarding mental health and things of that nature that would really bring things to a more fascinating light. I don't know. Would you like to see a newer version of this if they made it?
Well, I mean, it would you could call it Fear Strikes Out, and might be the only thing that's reminiscent of the original, because with social media and internet bullying
Yeah.
and all of the other attendant mental pressures that are put on young people and athletes themselves today, you'd have to incorporate all of that into the movie, and that raises the question about people go to movies like a movie like Fear Strikes Out, or any movie that's based on real events, and they go to the movies and people don't even try to differentiate between, well, this is a movie that's made for dramatic purpose. No, everybody goes to the movies and thinks they're seeing a documentary.
Yeah.
Hey, screw it. It's not. It's a movie.
And it's fictionalized.
Yeah. And that's the problem. I think you find a greater truth in fiction than you do through facts sometimes. For instance, one movie I think is like really underrated that I absolutely love is Oliver Stone's Nixon. And one thing I really liked about that movie is that there's a real sympathy you have to this person you would think you'd never feel anything for. And maybe it did tap into what Richard Nixon was feeling inside, where he was hurting. And although he's doing these terrible things, there was a good person there, but it was buried underneath all these layers of war crimes and criminality. But it's like by exposing that kind of softer side to Nixon, if you could really call it a softer side, you'd have to see it in context of the story to see what I'm talking about. You'd have to see the movie.
A filmmaker has the opportunity to do that, and you're seeing the filmmaker's vision, not the truth, not who that person actually was. Oliver Stone is, you can disagree with what his vision is, but that was his vision. And please don't mix it up with trying to make it into, this is the real story.
Oh, no, not like that. But I think you understand a human being more through fiction, even if it's not true.
You understand the human being that he's portraying in the movie. It's not Nixon.
Yeah, it probably isn't, but it makes for a better narrative. Like, for instance, if you watch JFK, there's probably nothing accurate about that movie, but it really captures the absolute pandemonium of the time and sort of, in a way, the death of America, in a way, or sort of like the downfall of it. And I think that's what makes it more fascinating than, oh, is this right? Is that right? Like, I don't care about that. If it's a good movie and I actually care about the protagonist, then that's what's going to get me invested. Because you make something that's like 100% accurate, you're going to go, well, fuck this guy. I don't want to see this film, So, like, that would be kind of like my argument when it comes to narrative storytelling. There's actually a great quote from Roger Ebert in his book Life Itself, where he's talking to a very prominent journalist, and they're walking out of JFK, and the journalist goes, oh my God, I can't believe that movie. There was absolutely nothing true about that. And Roger said to him, well, journalism is about facts. Movies are about feelings. And this movie, It didn't make me feel too much because it kind of just felt like it was playing the same scene again and again. Like, oh, here's dad being a jerk. Here's dad, like I mean, there's so many instances where the dad's terrible. Like, there's an instance early on in the film when he's playing baseball as a kid, and he goes, if you threw that sooner, you would have gotten him out. It's just like, screw you, man. He's a 12-year-old. Leave him alone. But you really kind of get the idea. It's a very simplified idea of bipolar disorder that people didn't understand in the 50s.
Well, they didn't treat it as a genetic
No.
genetic component to a disease, to a real actual illness, as opposed to something that just happens to you because of people treating you badly.
Or
Yeah.
the factors of the family and their influence on it. I would have liked to have seen. I'd like to see a movie about Jimmy Piersall where you go on beyond this particular time point.
Exactly.
Because he had 9 kids.
Mm-hmm.
He had 2
Wow.
wives. There's a lot more there.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
To that and how he related to his own kids. I would have
Mm-hmm.
liked to seen that.
That would have been great. And then seeing how he was like an announcer for the Sox, and then how he ended up getting. I would love to see the aspect of Harry Carey trying to get Piersall out so then he could go to the Cubbies and all that. Like, but people would be pissed if you put that in a movie. They'd be like, "How dare you?" And it's like, well, it's the truth. But I don't care. If it actually works for the narrative, that would be kind of fascinating because you can see that friendship kind of like break apart, when you have it in the narrative. And of course, I don't know if Piersall ever knew about, because he died in 2017, I believe, and I don't know if he ever knew about bipolar disorder or not.
Oh,
And
sure.
okay, so he did. Did they?
That was
Yeah.
well
Yeah, it
documented.
was
By
well
2017, it was a well
Yeah.
documented, well researched part of.
Oh yeah.
But
Well,
thinking about it, nobody's ever done a documentary or a movie, to my knowledge, on
Mhm.
Harry.
Yeah. Of Harry Carey? Yeah. I wonder if they're trying to protect his image. I don't know. Because like you could make like a fluff documentary and like a fluff narrative film, and those are boring. Like, I don't like fluff pieces. They bore the hell out of me. It's like, why would I want to see a movie talking about how someone is so great and so perfect for 2 hours and how I should be like them? Like, rarely am I like the Christopher Reeves documentary I was really into, and that was about how great he was. The documentary on Mr. Rogers, Won't You Be My Neighbor?
Yeah.
One of the best documentaries I've seen ever.
I have a feeling there's no documentary been done on Harry because Linda was just pointing out the other day that Dutchie
just turned 106.
Wow.
I'll bet you there's something there that while she's alive, they can't make that movie.
Maybe that's part of it. I don't know. We don't know anything about it, but
Yeah, I mean, again, you'll probably never know because there's a lot of famous people where we don't know what the real person is like.
Is she
And
106 or is Sister Jean 106?
no. 106. I thought it was 106 for her.
No, I'm not sure about that, but it's Sister Jean, the lawyer.
It was either 96 or 106.
Yeah.
I gotta mix it up.
But Sister Jean is over 100.
yeah, and the one of the funniest things about this movie is that there was kind of a similarity between Perkins and Piersall. Not just them being crazy, but like they both had like real struggles with things that drove them crazy. Jimmy with his over demanding father that wanted him to be a ball player, and of course, one thing that I don't know why they took it out of the movie, but like his mother being in and out of institutions, which probably genetically was passed on to him, much like if you have a heart patient in your family.
That apparently didn't serve the narrative of the story.
Yeah.
To make the mother the root of his mental health issues as opposed to his father.
I think it would be like both parents if they were better writers with this film. Instead, they're like, oh no, just make it about bad dad, because every movie has to be about how horrible the father is. And I think after the movie came out, I mean, A, Piersall hated it. He disowned the film. And then B, I think he wrote another book to counteract that movie because of how infuriated he was with it. But the thing with Perkins and Pearsall that's so weird is like they kind of both had these, Pearsall was driven nuts by expectations, and I think Perkins, well, first off, he seemed kind of like even before he was like living this closeted life. He he came from a well pretty good upbringing. Like his dad was well-known actor, but then he had to hide being gay for everyone, and I think that caused him to be extremely volatile on sets, which is why he wasn't in a lot of movies. And yeah, when he was on the set of Fear Strikes Out, he would like clash with everyone, and like when he had to do his breakdown scene, he didn't really, he was apprehensive to do it, and it wasn't rehearsed in any detail, and the tensions were so high on the set between him and the crew that many thought Perkins was going to have the breakdown himself. So then of course when they actually, and they didn't know what they were going to shoot when they shot it, and then when they shot it, you got the most famous scene of the movie. But it's like it felt like both people were sort of struggling with mental health. Now obviously Anthony Perkins didn't have bipolar disorder, but there were societal expectations and values that I think really hurt his life a lot, because he did get married, he did have kids, but there were rumors of him going out with other actors. And there was actually an article from People I just read like a few minutes ago where his son Osgood Perkins, who's the director of Longlegs, said that yeah, it was sort of like this thing in their family where they all kind of knew about it, but it was kind of like kept a secret. And it's funny how like Fear Strikes Out, and you look at Perkins' career, you kind of see how they both correlate to people not understanding not only just like mental health in terms of insanity, but in terms of well-being and living a better life and being accepted for who you are. Yeah.
By the way,
So,
just checked Dutchy Carey, Harry's widow.
mhm.
Is how old?
96. Grant DePorter put that up.
Wow.
Porter is the manager or the owner of Harry Carey's restaurant.
Yeah. I've never been. I gotta still go to Harry Carey's restaurant. I don't know how the food there is, but it's probably good, pretty good. But yeah, I mean, what if there is one particular thing you guys would like to see changed in the movie? What would it be?
What would I like to see changed in the movie? I would like I would have liked to have seen Jimmy's more of his on-field exuberance and joy.
Yeah.
I would have liked to have. I would like to have seen that aspect to sort of make a more complete picture of why he loved baseball the way he did. So many sports movies just take for granted that we know that they love the game.
His passion.
To
find out his
how did
passion
how did that happen, and how did he how did he portray that for the fans? And that's the other thing. Did he do it? Did he do anything for the fans? Did he care one twit about the people in the stands, or was it all about I'm playing this game that I love?
I think he did it to. I mean, he wanted to be an entertainer, but he also was a good ball player, so he could do both. Yeah, it's like because like I'm pretty sure everyone's like, oh, he's annoying. I hate him. Blah blah blah. But at the same time, I was like, yeah, but he actually delivered us a lot of runs and a lot of outs. So he was a good ball player.
So we're doing this whole where whatever we are 45 minutes into this project, into this mission, and I wonder how many people who are still watching, if I haven't driven you all away, if you're still watching, are wondering, gee, Jimmy Piersall, I never even heard of him.
Most people haven't. He's not a household name. Yeah,
I have no idea who this guy is.
Mm-hmm.
And if we've jogged just a scintilla of interest in learning what a 17-year veteran who was a Gold Glover and an All-Star,
and a major personality,
and a crazy guy,
yeah. Yeah, well, I was like, oh, he's not crazy, but then when you told me he like nearly strangled someone to death, I'm like, yeah, that's actually something I don't. That's something I don't think I know anyone has done. Is try to like murder someone. So, yeah, I mean, here's there was one thing in the movie where I think he wasn't. It wasn't just bipolar, but I think he might have had a little bit of autism, where he's given the assignment to play for the Boston Red Sox, and they give him the position of shortstop, and he's used to playing the outfield, and it causes him to have this huge breakdown in the movie. And there's a little clip from it I'd like to play. It's about 35 seconds long, and I would kind of like to go over what I find interesting about that scene, but I trimmed it up so the copyright police won't get me. So enjoy this real quick, and we'll go over.
I went to Boston.
Yes, yes.
They don't want me there.
What? Who doesn't?
No, they don't want me there.
Who doesn't?
Cronin and the Red Sox, they're trying to put me at shortstop and I can't play it.
Harry!
It's no time to get cold feet. Sure, they put you in the infield, so you'll have to work a little harder. So what? You're making the majors, Jim. That's what counts.
Okay. I'll go.
Oh, now that's more.
Now, I think anyone who suffers from autism, particularly, and even maybe bipolar in a way, I don't know, I don't have bipolar, but if you break routine,
I would have had the same reaction if somebody told me I had to play shortstop for the 1953 Red Sox.
I mean, yeah, well, we're not baseball players, but yeah, I mean, the thing is, like, he had to break a routine, and when you break a routine, it causes people to sort of have a meltdown. And the thing was, his father in the movie, he's like this abusive person who doesn't really mean to be abusive, kind of. But anyways, but at the same time, he does love and trust his father, and he ends up kind of like calming him down when even his wife couldn't calm him.
The father instinctively had the tools to get him off the edge, to get him off the edge of the cliff. But just in reality, in 1957, autism wasn't a diagnosed disease either. So
that's right. Nothing was.
If you're trying to make the case that he was autistic, that was completely by chance, because there was no autism. There was autism, it just wasn't diagnosed. It
wasn't labeled.
Oh yeah, no, I'm not saying that he like may have been diagnosed with it or anything like that. I don't think they ever knew anything or even thought about it within 100 miles. But I feel like, just judging from my history with it, I could tell there are little patterns that maybe the filmmakers didn't know at the time. But in today's context, it's like, oh no, this guy didn't just have manic bipolar disorder. He might have had autism. That might have been why he was such a gifted player, because when you have autism, you get, and it's grossly kind of exaggerated in Rain Man, but you kind of get a little bit of that Rain Man gift where you could just laser focus in on something and just thrive at it. But I feel like this movie really could be taken through a different context to today, and all of this could be put in. It could be a way more fascinating film. Like, I just saw a remake a few days ago that I thought was better than the original, which was the Roses. And yeah.
I'm not sure if it was better than the original, but it was a great script. I think The Roses is a wonderful script.
Excellent.
Yeah, well, I think I liked about it better than the original. I don't know if I can get too much into it because the review embargo is still going, but it was a little more sophisticated, but it was also slapsticky. Yeah. And the original Danny DeVito directed film is just like straight slapstick, with like a little bit of thought to it. And also, I like the fact that the kids actually have a role in the movie instead of just being like completely ignored, which they were in the original. But it's like, this is a case where you can make a remake and go in a million places, and people would say, who's this Jimmy Piersall guy? And then they'll find out what he said when a bunch of Indians were on the field, and it'll be like, cancel him. But
I
yeah.
do remember. I do remember. I grew up in the Boston area, and I do remember Jimmy Piersall as a player for the Red Sox, and he was loved and reviled at the same time.
Yeah. And I think today, if he was around, he would have like a dual audience. Like he would get fired by the station, and then he'd like go on Joe Rogan's podcast, and then get like a ton of clicks and attention through there, and then he'd just go through that medium. Which honestly, like the whole Rogan sphere and Theo Vaughn, who I filmed a show with, the guy is stupid. But like those guys have kind of destroyed comedy. And I feel like Jimmy Piersall, he made baseball even more entertaining than it already was.
Well,
You
and I
know,
remember him as having a good sense of humor. He liked to laugh.
yeah. Oh, he was hilarious.
Until he
I
wasn't
mean,
around, or that I had anything to do around him. He really liked to laugh. He was a really smiley guy.
huh? See, people wouldn't know that now, and that's something I would like to see in the remake. You know, see more of Pearsall's fun side. Why do we like him? Not just, oh, I'm scared of my dad and I got to run away from him because, or not run away from him. Like eventually they put him in the hospital, and that's when the movie shifts gears. Yeah.
Did he have a good sense of
Well,
humor? He just liked to laugh.
he was a friend.
Ah,
He was the kind of guy that you get together and just kind of pal around a little bit with him. He was I think of Jimmy more as a friend than as a subject or an interview or anybody like that. He just liked to sit around and we'd chat from time to time.
yeah.
I didn't see him. I wasn't a close intimate of Jimmy Piersall, but we were in his sphere, and it was nice.
I mean, that's amazing because I've always wondered about Jimmy, and maybe I was making misconceptions. And I'll tell you why I would think he'd be on the Rogan sphere and all that. Although I don't know if he would be. He sounds like he was a reasonable person despite his problems. But I think wrapping up, if you guys are to give this movie a score, 1 out of 4 Guinnesses, what would you what would you give it?
1 out of 4. Okay. Well, I'd give it close to 3.
Okay.
2.75.
2.5. Yeah.
2.5, 2.75.
Say for you, Linda, 2.5.
Same. Yeah.
All right, 2.5. I'm gonna go a little higher. I'm gonna go for a 3 because we don't really get a lot of movies regarding sports this way. And it's interesting to see a film about mental health that came out, in 1957, where nobody knew anything about mental health.
Sure.
And to a certain extent, we still don't. But because like you can help a heart patient, you can maybe cure someone of cancer. Although, statistically, but I mean, my mom beat it. So, but when it comes to mental health, there's no cure for it still.
There are things you can see on scans and MRIs and things and X-rays.
Yeah.
And mental health doesn't necessarily show up on those unless it's Alzheimer's, and then you got or brain tumors or things like that. But mental health doesn't show up.
Yeah. So like this is a movie that I think is like like an interesting piece to watch, but it's like the best movie. Like no, it's a very 1950s film where there's not a lot when it comes to cinematically with the camera or the overall mise en scène that they do that's fascinating. It's a lot like older films, which I kind of miss the style, which they were a lot like plays. The camera would be flat, people would talk, and then they'd go to the next scene, and they wouldn't even jump cut to the scene. You'd see like the person slowly walk to the door, open the door. Then of course Godard changed that when he came out with Breathless. But I mean, it's a style of film we don't see anymore, and I wish more kids would watch older movies because you're not gonna most of the stuff today is like made for an ADD audience, and yeah, you can see like indie films and stuff like that, but it's good to actually see a film from the past because I think it's fascinating because you're actually it's the closest thing we have to a time machine where we could see what people looked like from the past, what they sounded like, what the the architecture was like, uh, which you can't get closer to than that. I mean, you could try to replicate it through movies where it's like, oh, here's Stranger Things. It takes place in the 80s, but it doesn't beat seeing something from the 80s, which, oh my God, I feel old when people say that 80s movies are old movies now. It's like, don't say that. But yeah, but no, guys, thank you for coming on. Before we take off, what would you guys like to plug?
moviesandshakers.com, and
Yeah.
also we have a YouTube channel, surprise surprise, Movies and Shakers, where we post our interviews and our reels, and we invite you to subscribe to that as well. After you subscribe to this podcast, you come on over to Movies and Shakers and give us a hit over on YouTube and moviesandshakers.com on the web.
Yes, and we're going to be covering a couple of film festivals by the end of the year.
Oh, and we're headed out to Vegas, baby.
Woo!
We're going to go see the premiere of The Wizard of Oz in the Sphere.
Oh, like, are they? Is it a re-release of it?
It is the 1939 movie on steroids.
Oh, really? Is it on stage or is it like a movie?
Remastered, reimagined, recolored, and they expand the frame of the lens to show you everything outside the lens you never see in the 16 millimeter version.
So we're going to see it.
Wow, that's incredible. That's amazing. I didn't even know you could do that.
Plus wind and rain and sound effects in your seats.
Yes.
Oh, I think I know what you're talking about. I've seen videos of these things. It's kind of like this screen that surrounds you. It's like a curved screen.
It is,
yeah.
It's not even a screen. It is an edifice. It's a structure. It's this sphere.
Yeah.
So
I remember the closest.
CBS Sunday Morning did a story on this a few weeks ago. Check it out.
Right.
Oh yeah. See, yeah, I saw something like they were showing Superman and like they were having like stuff fall down on the audience, and like you can watch Jaws or be some water, but excuse me. But like, yeah, through like it's like literally, is it 360 or is it okay? Wow. So yeah, or that would be 180. But yeah, I mean that's incredible. I mean the technology in films today, it keeps evolving. And yeah, I mean maybe James Cameron will make Avatar on one of those 360 screens, but yeah, that'd be amazing. But yeah, the closest thing I had to that when I was a kid was you would go, I think it was a Navy Pier, and maybe it was the IMAX, but like you would look up at the ceiling and the screen would be on there. Yeah. And that was I still remember like kind of feeling the blood rushing through my head like to this day.
It was disconcerting until you got used to it.
Yeah, exactly. Well, guys, thank you so much for coming on. In the description below, you can find Al and Linda's socials. You can find their website. Go to moviesandshakers.com. If you liked what you saw here, subscribe to YPA Reviews. The YPA stands for You'll Probably Agree. And across all platforms is YPA Reviews, except TikTok, because somehow someone else had YPA Reviews. But it's under YPA Reviews Chicago there. So, guys, thank you so much for coming on. Maybe we'll see you on the ball field. And, yeah, stay tuned for our next episode. When that is, wherever that is.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, folks. Ending stream now.